we put those in charge of Cover Oregon in the hot seat.
The executive director faced tough questions from lawmakers in Salem today, and Joel Iwanaga caught up with Cover Oregon's spokesperson tonight to learn more about this. And he's defending this online system, Cover Oregon, that so far hasn't signed one person up, Joel?
He really is, Jeff, and I can tell you a lot of folks have very little patience over this. Here's why. Cover Oregon is the only state healthcare exchange that hasn't signed a single person up online. And today that director said it would be December 16th at the earliest that the site would be working, and that's a day after the application deadline for those who need coverage at the beginning of the year.
Well, we recognize that Oregonians are frustrated that they can't use the online enrollment system, and we're frustrated too. We want to reassure them that they can apply for coverage now, they can turn in an application, and we'll get that processed, and we're working to get the system up as quickly as we can.
We followed up with Cover Oregon spokesman after the executive director got a grilling Wednesday by Oregon lawmakers.
By approximate percentage, how much of the website is actually done?
I'm looking for help from my family. Mr. Chair, I don't know if I can say a percent.
King repeatedly told legislators the Cover Oregon website wasn't broken, it just wasn't finished.
Is that true?
And when asked if Cover Oregon had only one fax machine to process those paper applications, King said he didn't know, so we asked again.
Looking in, obviously, to our communications infrastructure, we clearly have enough to get in the 25,000 applications we've received, but we do expect that number to pick up as we near the deadline, and we're going to make sure we have the systems in place to receive all those applications.
In the meantime, 400 extra workers have been hired to process those applications by hand.
Will these applications be processed by the deadline, Michael?
You know, we've received over 25,000 applications for health coverage. We will process those applications on time.
But when we asked the director the same questions, he wasn't as sure.
So we're committed to try to do the best we can to make sure that all applications are submitted within the time frames that we've outlined.
But that's not a promise.
I'm telling you that we're going to put the resources that we can to try to make that happen.
Now, since December 16th, it's the earliest the site would be up and running. If you do need coverage that starts in January, you need to submit that paper application as soon as possible. Jeff and Kelly, Cover Oregon says those should be mailed by December 4th, 2 weeks from today, to make sure that processing is on time.
So now we're talking about hiring all of these extra people. This thing hasn't gone as planned. What about the cost here? Is it over budget?
Good question. I asked that to Cover Oregon tonight, Kelly and Jeff. They said they're $2 million over budget, but it's covered by federal funds. Still, a lot of folks frustrated and really disturbed by this whole, what they're calling a debacle.
And the fact that we would be the only state in the country not to sign one person up, you expect better from Oregon, I think.
A lot of folks saying the public is not being served in this interest here.
All right, Joel, thank you.
Thank you, Joel.